Hello again, this is Jim Ledoux. Want to walk through just a few basic things we discussed during session 2 of the ACC class. First of all, I want to remind you that it's really important that we understand what coaching is and what it isn't from session 1, but I want to emphasize the importance of memorizing or embedding the idea of what coaching actually is. So we talk about coaching being a collaborative process where coaches support a client through a thought-provoking process. Thought-provoking is really important. And it's a creative process that maximizes the personal and professional transformation or potential of that individual. It's future-oriented. It focuses on actionable steps and helps the clients unlock their own insights and resources to achieve their goals. So it's really about drawing out the wisdom of the client, recognizing that they're the expert, and the coach is the expert in facilitating a powerful conversation by asking great questions. So, and our particular focus was, this past session, was about creating safe space. How do we create safe space both for the client and yourself? And that begins with confidentiality. How do we mention that right at the very beginning, that whatever is said in this space will not go beyond these walls or beyond this Zoom session or this phone call. And so we need to make that really clear. But part of safe space not only is honoring the essence of confidentiality, but it's also making sure we stay in our own lane, that we're not trying to fix, we're not judging, we are just being that non-judgmental presence that's fully engaged in following their lead. So, talking about fully engaged, it's really about good eye contact, nodding your head, helping them know that you are tracking what they're doing, and then asking powerful questions based on what they're sharing with you. But you want them to feel like the most important person in the room in that coaching space. So that's some very basic elements, but also, and that's the importance of the basic agreement, the 5 coaching questions. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to take away? What do you see as some of your options? Are we still talking about what you mentioned is most important to you? What will you do as you think about this? What might be your next steps? And then who will hold you accountable, or who can support you in taking those next steps? But that's the essence of a guided coaching conversation that goes through those 5 different questions. And it's designed to make sure that you're following their lead, but also facilitating transformation, that there's a change in assumptions, a change in attitudes, a change in approaches, and possibly, a change in actions. So coaching is about transformation. So, and it doesn't hurt when we talk about creating safe space that you would actually ask, did I create an environment for you that you felt safe and you could say what needed to be said? And so I ask that question periodically just to create that space. But I also want to lift up the importance of the physical environment that I shared with you during our session about a pastor that was whispering because he wasn't sure if the walls were thick enough to prevent other staff members hearing what he was saying. So make sure that it's a space that is quiet, that's distraction-free, and probably most importantly, that others aren't being able to hear in that process. We also talked about, my bias is I don't do coaching in a public space because I can't honor confidentiality and there's too many distractions. So think about wherever your settings take place, is it quiet, distraction-free, and does it ensure safety and confidentiality? So those were some of the basic things that we talked about. A couple other things I want to encourage you to think about is it's important that now that you've completed 2 sessions of the ACC level training, you can start counting your coaching hours. And so I'll lift that up in our next session, what that might look like, some tools for doing that. But I do want you to know that if you're on this desired track of becoming a certified coach, you can start logging those hours. So we'll spend some time on that today. A couple other things that I just want to lift up is we talked about the public spaces, but also sometimes it's hard to figure out where they want to go. It's usually, it's always easy to ask, what do you want to talk about? And once you know where they're going, it's easy to talk about, what might be your next steps? Who can hold you accountable? Those are just natural questions that lead to the flow of facilitating transformation. But sometimes it's hard to know what that takeaway is, and the client doesn't always know that from the get-go. So I just want to give you a couple rules of thumb about coaching. One, it's not unusual that it might take you 1/3 of the coaching session to clarify what really is the takeaway or the outcome or the end result of our coaching session. So don't force that. But you might know 30 seconds into the coaching conversation what it is, and it might take you a little bit of time. But it's hard to be a good coach if you don't know where you're going, because part of your task is to kind of help land the plane to get them where they want to go. I also want to give you another tip, that it's so easy to get focused on doing things right, asking all the right questions, making sure you don't forget to say anything about confidentiality. Sometimes we get preoccupied with that. I want to lift up the concept that we coach the person, not the problem. The biggest gift you can have is just to be fully present and learn to dance and follow their lead. And if you have a mindset of curiosity, a mindset that they're the expert, a lot of that stuff just falls into place. And then one last comment I'll make, and that is it's easy for coaches to overfunction, that we explain too much about our next question, that we sometimes try to fix things, but your questions should be short, concise, and compelling. And most of the time they don't need to be, and they're obviously open-ended, but they don't need to be typically more than 6 to 8 questions, or sentences, words, excuse me. So think about them being short. And the other element tied in with that is that the coach should not talk more than 20% of the time in a coaching conversation. We want to create as much space as possible for the client to share their wisdom, their ideas, their possibilities, their next steps. So think of that 80-20 rule, that you talk less than 20% of the time, and you facilitate questions that allow the client to talk the 80% of the time. So that's where that's just a basic recap of session 2. As we go into session 3, we'll be talking about demonstrating ethical practice. We'll be spending the bulk of our time actually walking through ICF's Code of Ethics document. So that's where we'll go next. Be well.